Boom, baby, we're live. Welcome to Interview with the Man, episode 612. Gosh, we've been doing them forever. I'm here joined with Justin, Mark, Wraith, and so many more people will be joining us on this watch party today for Childhood 2.0, where we are going to be talking about the inner game issues that come from social media addiction, and then kind of a little bit of a case study of the individuals in this video and how like you can clearly see some inner game issues with some of the parents, and then you could see that they're clearly passing this on to the children. So this is all just to bring awareness to you guys at home. But before we get going, don't forget, we on the 30th of March we have the Inner Game Healing Summit, and these two gentlemen on the screen with me will be involved in that. Take a look at what we got cooking real quick right here.
Hi, I'm Jonathan from the Masculine Empowerment Network, and I'm here today with another special message for you. As you know, I've just returned from my North American tour, which started in Miami, went to Orlando, Dallas, Santa Barbara, California, Las Vegas, Nevada, and ending in Toronto, Canada. A lot of you know I had the pleasure to meet you and get a chance to talk to you and see exactly what's going on with you in your life and how can I help you more. And I learned a lot. I met so many men and so many different walks of life, and I heard about your struggles. Struggles that didn't really come from the outside, but they came from the inside. Anxiety, depression, loneliness, addiction, feeling not good enough, hopelessness, all things that are detrimental to a man who wants to live an above average life. As you know, last year we launched the Inner Game Healing Summit. And after going on this tour and hearing your cries for help, I have realized that once again, it's time to bring it back. But we're doing it bigger, we're doing it better, and we're doing it for you. This year, we are bringing back the Inner Game Healing Summit, but we are giving you 4 times the value at a fraction of the cost. Starting on March 30th, we are re-enrolling members for the entire year. Because this year, what we're going to do is in quarter 1, we will have 5 interactive webinar training sessions with our psychological experts, as well as quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. And when you sign up for quarter 1, you get access to all of the quarters for the rest of the year. In addition to that, you do get access to my Inner Game Healing video course, which is a self-help guide for you to maximize the principles I have used to heal my inner game to help me become the successful man that I am today. In addition to that, you'll also get access to the 1-year Telegram chat. And the Telegram chat from last year, let me tell you something. I couldn't believe what I saw, but this Telegram chat was self-sustaining, with members helping each other, lifting each other up, and I was witnessing people being cured left and right. One of our members was actually able to land a 6-figure salaried position with none other than Jordan Belfort himself after attending the Inner Game Healing Summit and clearing out his inner game issues, healing his traumas, and taking the next step in his life towards greatness. We welcome you to join us. If you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling depression, if you're feeling isolated and alone, if you're feeling despair, hopelessness, feelings of not being good enough, let us help you. We have helped hundreds of men last year, and we're going to help thousands and thousands and thousands more. Join us. Go to innergamehealing.com, get on the waiting list, and get ready, because we are going to be putting together something like never before. You do not have to be a slave to your inner demons. We will conquer them. We will do this together, and we will do it in the year 2023. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the inside.
That's right. We're getting more and more people every single day. Well over 100 people. It's officially 1 week now that we have done this. And the website is up and running. Just go to innergamehealing.com right here and then put your best email address in here. Click here to get on the waiting list. You'll be locked and loaded for what we got going on this upcoming event that is the second year we're running it. And just so you know, to clarify what we got going on one more time, the Inner Game Healing Summit will be going for 4 quarters. So right now we're in quarter one, which is 5 webinars with leading experts in inner game healing and a year-long Telegram chat, as well as a video course that comes with it. So if you sign up now in quarter one, you get access to quarter 2, 3, and 4 for the entire year completely for free with your one-time sign up right here. And again, this what you'll be getting is very simple. You get 20 webinars covering various techniques of healing your inner game across the year, a year-long Telegram chat with me, the guys here on the screen, and more to help you with accountability and getting your goals sorted, access to psychological experts in the course, and then video course for maintaining mental health habits. Go to innergamehealing.com and get on the waiting list today. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being with me today. Wraith, it is your first time on the show in the month of March and during this inner game healing time. Just so you guys know, the reason frame is on the wall here, a big part of that is due to this gentleman right here, Wraith, who has been teaching me the importance of frame and setting it and maintaining it in a relationship. Wraith, would you like to say anything about what you'll be doing with the Inner Game Healing Summit and your perspective on things?
I'm probably going to be talking about frame, which that seems to be the subject that most young men and even older men have issues with. And I'll also be doing on how you talk to yourself, your inner talk, and how you can actually improve that to help you reinforce your frame and also to reinforce behaviors that you want exhibited to you and by you.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of what I'll be doing this year, and I still do my coaching and all that stuff. But as I started, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago with John and in his adventure of trying to help men, the more I set in with the webinars, and I'm on just about every webinar. I'm not teaching, but I'm there. Saw a lot of problems with young men just not being able to focus because they didn't understand their values and they couldn't exhibit the value that they had. So
great stuff. And then we're here with one of the most sought after dating coaches in the world. I'm not going to name what companies are after this man, but everybody is trying to lock you down, Justin. And I want to say thank you for being here with me. Did you want to add anything to what you'll be doing with inner game healing and your perspective on things and today's topic, whatever you want to say?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, super happy to be here. And the Inner Game Healing Summit is going to be amazing. I'm specifically going to be talking a lot about game and how working on your inner self improves your inner character, which allows you to date more beautiful women, more of an abundance with women. It's crazy. Women can actually feel. They can just feel how developed you are as a man. And it's crazy that if you just work on your inner character, work on your inner game, your outer game, everything else falls into place. So that's a lot we're going to talk about. And also how that leads to making money. Because one thing I've noticed that is when guys work on their inner game, they make more money. It's that simple, right? You become more trustworthy. You become more established. You become more responsible when you work on your inner game. And now whether you're working for a company, whether you're an independent contractor, whether you're running your own business, you're going to make more money. It's that simple if you work on your inner game. And if you're a guy who's struggling to hit a high level income, struggling to get better with dating, the Inner Game Healing Summit is going to bring you to a whole new level. I'll be talking about game and money specifically on how to level up those areas of your life. It's going to be transformational for everyone, really. But that's my area of expertise.
Yeah, man, I love it. Thank you so much for being here with us. I mean, the presentation you gave during the Masculine Empowerment Network for the quarter 4 enrollment seriously is one of the best ones we've ever had. You're such a great public speaker. You know how to get people out of their own skin. And you know, a lot of these guys need a loving, brotherly, swift kick in the rear end sometimes to get it going. So appreciate you for being here. And yeah, let's just cut the fat. Let's just get straight into today's documentary. So guys, if you're watching at home, we're doing a watch party today. So we will be watching the entire documentary here. And this documentary is called Social Media Dangers Documentary Childhood 2.0. And this is available on YouTube completely for free. You can look at, I mean, if you want to watch at home with us, you can watch on the screen here with us. But I saw a lot of things, and this was brought to me. This was brought to my attention by Allie, Real Femme Sapien, because she's pregnant. She's about to become a mother, and she's really like biggest thing about her. She's not a hoe, never was a hoe, and I really respect her traditional values and her sober-based outlook on life. She's a great person, and she may be joining us. She's, you know, her family's first, so she's with her husband right now, and that's top priority, and that's okay. But if she pops in, she'll pop in. Paul from Apex Mindset and Ryan Fowler from Inner Masculine may also be joining us as well. So without further ado, let's get going. If you guys can hear. We're good?
What do I love about my daughter?
What do I love about my kids?
I'm gonna cry.
I'll start crying.
My daughter is an old soul who teaches me how to be a better person every single day.
I love his heart. Like he loves big.
They are extremely smart and kind and opinionated, which I love.
He is so unique.
They see the bright side of everything. They have this altruistic love of people in the world.
She's stunning and she's witty.
Very athletic, very charming.
Like, he actually makes me laugh. I'm not laughing because he's so cute. He's like legitimately funny.
Having these children to teach me how to love has probably been the best way for me to learn how to love.
I just appreciate that they're good people. You know.
Whose that?
Is that how ironic is that? What you're talking about?
A long time ago, families were in extended communities. They were local, they were small. Children and parents largely worked together with neighbors on things that just needed to be done for daily living.
I was born in the very depth of the Great Depression. If you know anything about the Depression, it actually began on the farms. At that time, I wasn't much to help, but I can tell you later on, I was put to work, carrying wood, carrying water. I knew how to shell peas. I knew how to break beans. And I had a little wagon, so I was the water girl instead of the water boy. But that was the kind of things that we did.
You had responsibilities in the barn with the animals from a very early age. It's getting harder and harder to find, 80, 90, plus year olds that have that perspective, that we just have no concept of what it was like to live in that kind of scarcity.
My mother was raised just about like her great-grandmother was. I was raised pretty much like my mother and dad were up to a point, and that's the way with my kids. They were able to change, but they had to change so much faster than I did.
When you guys think of your parents and how they grew up, what do you imagine?
So they had no internet, no smartphones. What do you think they did for fun?
This group of girls, this lady talking to this group of girls, this shit gets so fucking casually dark when it just talks about, you have like this is like a group of girls that like are no older than 21 max, talking about their multiple hookups and stuff. That comes later, but pay attention to this group of girls here. It's yikes. It's yikes.
I don't really know how they would like communicate with their friends.
Faxing. It's a big thing in the 70s, fax.
Okay, and then pay attention to this. So this is a boy, and he's dressed the way he is, and then you'll find out who his mother is a little bit later too.
If you've seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I imagine their life was like Charlie.
It was definitely far different than what it is now. Lots more kids outside.
A lot more like being outside than inside.
I was outside 24/7.
We were told to get out of the house, either in or out. So if you wanted to go outside, you were out all day.
I pretty much lived on my bike.
I would ride my BMX bike.
I fall in love with a baseball.
But we would play kick the can in the middle of the street.
Capture the flag, to manhunt, to wiffle ball, to basketball,
We
to...
built a zip line, and it was actually made out of clothesline, which I would not recommend.
I remember getting up at 5:30 in the morning and help my friend with his paper route. He paid me with a donut, you know?
Yeah, if I wasn't lighting somebody's house on fire or pouring sugar in a gas tank or something.
Yeah, you went outside. You went and rang the doorbell.
Hey man, you want to play? And pick up somebody sort of one house at a time until you had a posse.
We go to Scott's house. Last time we saw the two of them, they were with Jennifer.
Then you went and did whatever you
And
want.
before you knew it, you had the whole neighborhood outside.
When the street lights came on, we had to come home.
Had to be home when the lights came on. You know, when the street lights came on.
When the street lights came on.
Came home by dinner time.
Come in when it gets dark.
Came home when it got dark, and parents would look at you quizzically like, why are you here already if you're sitting around?
I feel like life was more authentic, like more genuine.
Yeah, it got creative.
They got very creative. I feel like that's why our like parents' like stories are so much better than ours.
so much more fun.
How do you think they got in touch with each other?
They didn't.
They never got in touch.
Maybe like the house phone.
They have to actually like dial the phone number.
Remember in the kitchen, like there would be that ringing sound?
We had the one phone in the kitchen that had the really long cord.
Still hung on the wall.
Yeah, still hung on the
I
wall.
can remember setting the dinner table and having to take the phone cord over my mom's head.
Yeah, I was rarely on the phone if my sister was on. And then I would spend hours trying to record her.
We also always had to have quarters on us too for payphones. Like when you're out and about, it's critical.
I would call my dad if I needed a ride home, if it got too dark.
I remember when call waiting happened. Like, what? What is this technology?
I had a pager in at the tail end of college.
We didn't have a phone till I was in college. Everyone from the highway to here would be on the same line. So I think we had 9 people on the line.
I don't think I had a actual telephone until I was in maybe 5th grade.
But I think if we want to sort of be more real and focus on what people are experiencing.
Did you guys have anything like that? My mom said when the sun goes down, you got to come home. Anything similar for you two?
Yeah, dude, I'm having flashbacks right now. It's super weird because I mean, I didn't have a phone
You're
till I
slightly
was
low,
17.
You're just a little low. I mean, maybe pull the mic up closer, or
Is that better?
low. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't have a phone till I was like 17 years old, right? And so I remember, growing up, running around, like if you want to go to a friend's place, you have to like knock on their door, right? Think about why so many guys have social anxiety these days. It's because like they're too like if you want to contact someone, you have to like text them now. It's the most efficient way to do it. But back in the day, if you want to get a hold of someone, you have to go to their house and knock on the door, right? So a lot of these things will naturally help you become an authentic human being.
Yeah, because all game really is elevated amounts of social skills, right? And so that just teaches you from a young age. But when everybody's hiding behind an iPad or hiding behind a cell phone or video game screen, you have like a bunch of social retards. Like you're growing up literally retarding your social skills. Wraith, I hit you with
therapy, right?
I hit you with the mute there, Wraith. I don't know if you want to unmute yourself.
Oh.
There you go.
No, I had we had the party line phones where, there was, I think, 5 houses on our phone when we first got a phone. So it was probably, I don't know, I was probably 7 or 8 years old before we got a private line, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, wow. What is a party line?
It's what she was talking about when she said everyone from the highway to here was on the same line. So you shared a phone line with everyone. They had one phone line that run to all the houses. And
what?
You would have to, if someone was on the phone, you'd have to say, how long are you going to be on? You'd have to pick it up and talk to your neighbor. How long are you going to be on? And they say, well, I'll be off by this time. And you would have to wait till then to make a phone call.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't know that. Do you have a mic connected, Wraith?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, just pull it up a little closer because it's coming in low as well. I think you may have unplugged it. Try that again. You're completely mute now. When you pulled it, I think you disconnect. Anyways, give it a try. We're just going to keep playing this in the meantime. Just give me a check. I'll let you know when it's there.
Now we probably would want to be talking about the information revolution.
When I was a junior, I was taking a class and our professor was like, we are going to communicate with another college class in Sweden. And we were like, how are we going to do that? So we all went to the computer lab, stared at this black screen, and we typed in like C:\\, // all these numbers. I remember thinking why would anybody do this? And she had this thing called AOL, and there was this dial-up internet thing, and it was like, burp, 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 burp. And then all of a sudden she's in this chat room.
So what's everyone up to today?
Well, Linda Emerson called and she asked if Dasha and Peter could help Andrew and Lisa learn about the internet.
What's a web page? Something ducks walk on? Ha ha, very funny.
And frankly, I remember there being almost nothing to do once you were online. It seemed really cool, and then you had no idea what to do.
It didn't feel life-changing until I think much later than that.
And particularly over the last 20 years, we've just seen this explosion of innovation and new technology.
I do remember the first time somebody said, "You've never Googled something?" And I was like, what's Google?
Yahoo meetups. I think they came before MySpace.
Facebook was born like the week our oldest son was born. So when we look at him with his adolescent awkwardness, like that's how old Facebook is.
My kids are way better at using apps and mobile devices now than I am.
Kids are so intuitive with like the mobile devices.
They can pick up any mobile device and it's so intuitive. They know exactly what to do with it.
Just pick it up and just be like, okay, there you go. And you're just like, what did you do?
I've seen kids run circles around parents.
At least now I have in-house tech help when I need it.
Technology moves quickly. It's like the Wild West.
I try to keep up with the latest.
By the time I'm aware of what it is, they've gone on to the next one.
How do you keep up? It's something new every day.
It's exhausting. You can't just like, okay, I got to vet all this and vet all this.
I am not currently on any social media.
The use of phones has just ramped up.
I wouldn't even know how to navigate.
Everything is going crazy.
It's very difficult to opt out.
It's already too late. The train has already left the station way before I realized, and I'll never catch up.
Do I feel like I can protect my kids from the dangers online? No.
They're going to have to navigate it and make decisions for themselves without me sooner than I want.
Its pace has been so fast that some of the, what we'll call them guardrails that are necessary to keep an industry accountable have been set aside in the spirit of innovation.
Right now, we're effectively living in an experiment. How is this going to affect us? We'll find out with the current generation.
I will tell you that I'm probably going to be dead and gone, and I'll probably be thankful for it when all this comes to fruition. because I think that this scares me to death.
Thanks, Stephen.
Guys, I think John just dropped out. You're back.
Sorry about that. I hit there's a back button on my mouse that I accidentally hit. Sorry about that, guys. I'll be way more careful. I'll read these super chats real quick. MLD and Justin, you guys doing God work. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Casey Morgan, $4.99. My mom's 44 and addicted to phone. Everybody is. Got to get over it. Let me know if you can hear the audio. Sorry about that, guys. I have a gaming mouse and I hit the back button.
From like that I haven't talked to since like the 5th grade.
Like you don't get to see them for like a month. You can talk to them over FaceTime.
Staying connected, sharing photos, and being support to one another.
My partner calls it SMS parenting because I just text them.
Of course, the educational opportunities.
Having the internet at my disposal, I can search anything.
What did I have? I had the World Book Encyclopedia.
Just feeling a sense of security and safety with the ability for the location tracking feature.
Yeah, it's like letting everyone know where we are and stuff, so make sure everyone's safe.
Or if he's at a friend's house, I could call. Are their parents home?
It's actually been a way that we can keep track of them out there in the real world where things really are scary.
Do you think the dangers online are more prevalent or dangers in real life are more prevalent?
I think I'm still more afraid of the real world.
I think my primary concerns did tend to be physical.
Any situation where they cannot physically defend themselves,
Yeah.
then that's number one for me.
Yeah.
That's scary to me. And that's everything outside of that side of the house.
I really wasn't allowed to walk around the street. I couldn't ride my bike around my street. I mean, I'm a senior in high school. I still can't sleep over.
Like, we couldn't do that now. We couldn't just walk down the street and go to a restaurant. I mean, that's just not really that safe.
Without worrying about being kidnapped or even, I'm going to throw out raped.
Yeah.
Many parents today worry more about physical danger of their children than they do online danger for their kids because it's something that they can relate to.
I don't know whether Jimmy's lost his kite or what, but he's really asking for trouble, climbing a power or telephone pole. Here's one, a rusty nail, and believe me, it's dangerous.
I remember my parents really, teaching me sort of very physical danger prevention things, like look both ways when you cross the street and be careful who you talk to and things like that.
All of those things parents heard when they were growing up. And so that's something that they can hold on to. It's a fear that they remember. Whereas everything online, oftentimes it's so far out of what they can imagine because they're not using the technology the same way that kids are, that they can't even wrap their brain around it enough to know what to be afraid of.
The greater danger is definitely mental versus physical in this world. And I see it. The biggest issues
I think it's so funny, like how all the women are like physical danger, physical danger, physical danger. And the one father's like, actually, it's clearly a mental danger here. I mean, do you have like any just thoughts on your clients and their lack of dating success in correlation to maybe anxiety or something stimulated from smartphone addiction or social media addiction, or just kind of, because, we talk about this often, like a lot of these red pill guys will just be like forever living on the internet and actually not getting out there and doing game and stuff. Do you have any perspective on that?
Yeah, so I call them red pill masturbators, where essentially they're just jerking off to fucking internet education, but they don't actually go out and learn anything. Right. And if you look at a lot of the guys, 90% of guys will actually never go out and take action on the advice they learned from online. Right. If you think about it, probably even more than that, 95% of the guys will just sit at home, watch content, red pill content, dating advice content. They'll never actually go and apply it. Now, in terms of, it's hard to measure, phone addiction towards, their lack of dating success. But you'll definitely notice a lot of guys. I notice a lot of guys are just addicted to Tinder and they're not getting results on Tinder. They'll get one girl a year on Tinder, but then they're not getting any actual results. Maybe they get 1 date, 2 dates a year, get laid maybe once a year at most from dating apps. But then they completely lack the ability to go out. I see so many guys. They're like, yeah, I get laid here and there from Tinder, right? And if they don't know what they're doing, they're just wasting their time. They're just on the internet 24/7. And these apps, dating apps, are literally designed to be addictive. Yeah. Dating apps are completely designed to suck up all of your money, right? Like if you looked at Tinder when it first became a thing, it was free. And then they started adding, payment walls. So if you want to get more matches, now you have to pay for boosts. If you want to get, if you want to be able to like more than 100 girls a day, you have to pay for Tinder Gold. And there's more and more and more and more premium benefits. And Tinder's now a money machine that prints millions of dollars a day worldwide in revenue, right? And so what's happening now is a lot of guys will actually just get addicted to getting results on Tinder. Dude, that even happened to me during COVID lockdowns. I was killing it. I was having 1-2 girls a day coming over from COVID, during COVID lockdowns. And when everything started opening up, I completely lost my social skills. And I was supposed to be the coach. And I had to go out and relearn my social skills. It was crazy. It can happen to any of us.
Listen, people think that's fake, how your social skills can deteriorate, even though because you're like super high level social skills, myself as well. But you can see that like being isolated and doing this is a completely different skill set.
Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? And I remember imagining a world where I could just press buttons on my phone and hot girls show up to my door. And when I'd actually done it and achieved it, I realized this years ago, like it was mid 2020, how dangerous these apps, Instagram and Tinder, were to society. Like I remember just like sitting there in my Airbnb in Mexico City thinking, holy shit, this is like on one hand, this is so powerful if you actually understand how this works and how to use it to get like unlimited women, unlimited dating options, whatever, or even for business. But then realizing how bad this is for society as a whole I remember like realizing like this is fucked and this has ruined traditional social skills.
Yeah, it's wild. And it's amplifying, but that's why it's good for guys who do have social skills, because I do think that women still naturally have better social skills than men, even with all this stuff happening. But if you're a guy and you can actually have social skills, be socially fluid, like for example, like, when you invited me up to Canada, like I was not like socially awkward. I was not socially weird. I didn't make any of your friends feel weird because I had my social skills.
They all loved you.
Yeah, well, I love them too. Matt, fucking Gabby, all the
Yeah, Gabby said she loves you.
Even wild ass, what was her name? Justice.
Oh my God, she's crazy.
Justice is like this tall, beautiful, literal model that was hanging out at Justin's house. Like she's a real model. Like her eyebrows are under contract. She's literally not allowed to pluck or touch her eyebrows, and like hanging out with all these people. But it's like you've also have had clients that you brought around and they're like socially weird. Even one came to the party. That one guy who was like on the second night he came to the party, he's being Mr. fucking aggro, and he was like texting you that like wall of fucking text. So yeah, it's such an advantage nowadays too, and especially in the corporate world, anywhere you go, like developing high level social skills and being okay with yourself and having like, rock solid inner game is just like a positive ROI all around. Let's get back to the video.
Have come up with our kids have all been mental.
We've already been introduced to sexuality, cyberbullying, marketing and persuasion. The dangers for my kids that are more present are way more mental and emotional.
I think parents are aware that there are mental dangers out there, but I feel like we're constantly, as parents, you just tend to think that probably won't happen to my kid.
Statistically speaking, our world is much safer outside in the neighborhood. Those physical dangers are much less likely to happen than the dangers that we're seeing online.
Isn't it funny too with all the propaganda? Like every girl just thinks there's a fucking rapist hiding around the corner or like a violent criminal. And like, because dudes are getting more and more pussified and the world is becoming softer, there actually is like instances of like these violent crimes and stuff are going down.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works.
You want? Okay.
I remember in 5th grade, like I saw all my friends slowly like starting to get phones, and I was like,
yes, Thaddeus. Dude, the parents who let her dress like this, I'm sorry, absolutely cannot get behind this. Haram! Sorry, I that's unbelievable.
well, I want to be able to text my friends. I want to be able to like do like fun things on your phone. Like it's a fun thing.
When Annabelle was 5, I gave them their first iPod.
I was 11 when I started feeling pressured.
That pink-haired parent gave her child their first iPod at 5, which probably has video and all that stuff.
Like, even before that, people had cell phones.
Kids are ostracized. By the time they hit middle school, they go in at 6th grade. Almost everyone has a phone, and if you don't have a phone, then it's almost like a bullying thing.
You can do better than your peers if you have access to some social media that allows you to engage and know when things are happening and that you don't miss out. Peers judge other peers by their knowledge of what's happening.
Certainly in the last 5 years, we've seen kids' usage of devices continue to increase. We've also seen kids getting devices younger and younger. The rates at which they're experiencing certain types of problems continues to increase.
I'm Kellyanne. I have worked in multiple different areas with teens, Children's Hospital, a nonprofit. I met these group of girls when they were freshmen, and I have been with them now for 4 years. So they're seniors. They have access to me 24/7.
So these girls are the group of girls I was telling you about. These girls are seniors in high school. Seniors in high school.
Like, what's the max amount you think in one day in the past 3 years? Like, if you had picked the one day you spent the most time on your phone, how long do you think it was?
Oh, I'd say 18
hours,
maybe.
Say 5. The last 2 months, it's been 8, 9.
10, 11 hours a day.
Yeah, maybe like 12.
So in the past 10 years or so, the time that they're spending on them has skyrocketed. On average, maybe 7 hours a day. It's a lot of time when you also have to do school and sleep and eat. 7 hours a day is like a work shift.
There's a lot to do on your phone. Like, you can text people, you can play games, take videos, like take pictures. Like, there's a lot to do.
We've always had these things that captured our attention, but there is a certain level of precision with which today's technology hones in on our neurology and the way that we are wired.
Social media and other internet platforms make their money by keeping users engaged, and so they've hired the greatest engineering and tech minds to get users to stay longer inside of their apps and on their websites.
I use Instagram.
That's just what Justin was saying. They're just engineering these things to make them as addictive as possible.
Snapchat.
Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok.
2 Instagram accounts.
I can just scroll for hours on end.
I use Instagram, Twitter.
Instagram, definitely.
My favorite Snapchat.
Like, if I was to delete Snapchat, like, I don't think I would like hang out.
I don't know what's going on with Snapchat. There's
I just want to rewind that real quick.
Delete Snapchat, like, I don't think I would like hang out.
I don't know what.
That's boy.
Oh no way, really?
Yeah.
What's going on with Snapchat?
There's stuff called TikTok. The social media games like TikTok and Fortnite.
Yeah, I look up from my phone after being there for 15 minutes and it's been like an hour.
Scrolling through Instagram.
And then I end up watching other people's videos for like 5 hours on end.
Watch Netflix for time and then like go off Netflix, check Snapchat, check Instagram, go back on Netflix.
What I really do when I'm not online is kind of just sit on my ass and like eat.
I call it the race to the bottom of the brainstem. So it starts with techniques like pull to refresh. So you pull to refresh your newsfeed. That operates like a slot machine. It has the same kind of addictive qualities that keep people in Las Vegas hooked.
One of the central issues of Skinner's philosophy of behaviorism is that just like the pigeon, man is a predictable animal. Gambling systems have a schedule that we call variable ratio that explains why people gamble. The psychoanalysts say people gamble to hurt themselves, destroy themselves. Other people say they do gamble for the excitement and so on. Well, nonsense. You gamble because there is a certain schedule built into the gambling device or system, as in a horse race. The same schedule will make a pathological gambler out of a pigeon as well as out of a person.
It's interesting raising kids 5 years apart. You know, John could leave his phone sitting somewhere away. We've noticed that Jack's generation is of kids, they can't do that. They're so completely tied to their phone and they don't even know life without a telephone.
Typically when I get bored, I do pick up my phone. I tend to switch apps every 30 seconds to a minute.
They will literally melt their brains before they got off the device.
When we think about traditional drug use, we know that the age of first use, the earlier it happens, the greater likelihood for addiction. And so think about, with children, their brain is developing. And if they are not having balance in how they're using this, and it's developing at a younger age, I just, question how that will continue to impact them for years to come.
Young folks tend to have their reward sensitivity and their social sensitivity develop.
Wraith, welcome back. Your mic good?
I think so.
Is it selected on StreamYard?
Yeah, can you not hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's maybe just if you could pull it over just so like it's a little bit close to your mouth and turn up the gain a little bit.
How's that?
Yeah, it's better. I wanted to ask you something because you missed a segment where they were mentioning that, instances of violence are going down. Now, this documentary was 2 years ago. And I mentioned privately, we were talking about some of these states in regards to sexual assault and rape and stuff as well. What was the data on that you were saying? Like the instances of violence are going down in the states, correct?
in most of the states there is. There, in a lot of cities, there's a rise. But the reason they're going down is less people are actually spending time with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Dax Hill sent a $10 super chat. It's crazy. Female flirting / combos are off pace. Plus, now I have to be a full-blown super villain in person to break through the attention barrier to get an excited response. Our society is sick.
So true. It is so true.
Justin, talk about it, because you bring beautiful girls into a nightclub and they sit there and then they go like this, like in the VIP.
Yeah, so it's crazy because like my nightlife company would bring out like 150 girls a weekend. And yeah, you'll have all these pretty girls in like a VIP table. And if they're not on their phone texting one of their friends or whatnot, they're filming it. I'm even doing that. You know what I mean? So what you got to almost do is you got to like break through their selective focus by, like you said, being an asshole, do something exciting, like standing out. And it kind of gets people to like focus on you, because even if they're not on their phone, now their brain is so fucking ADHD. Like the human brain has become like TikTok and all this like short form content has made the human brain so ADHD. I don't think people realize how amazing it is that, John, Ray, and myself can just sit here for like hours and just talk, because the average person cannot do this. Right. And so when you can actually be the guy who isn't on your phone all the time, who can actually be present, who isn't just like addicted or constantly stimulated, or isn't like constantly ADHD, you really do stand out from every other guy.
Yeah. And just being able to like develop the skill of listening and actually listening to someone, All right, let's go back here.
Develop much earlier than their ability to regulate.
Great, I'll send you in a private chat.
These areas in their brain. Throughout childhood, the brain experiences rapid maturation. It begins in areas responsible for basic perception and memory, way in the back of the brain, and it ends in the front of the brain. And in the front of the brain, that's the areas that are most important for having us regulate our responses to rewards and our responses to social feedback. And the highest order part of that doesn't really develop into the 20s.
My biggest fear is when they get older that they never put those things down, and that they're so disinterested with connecting with other people, like in person, that it negatively affects them.
Being a leader 14 years ago was easier. The way kids has definitely changed. They have less or no coping skills. They are also harder to kind of break that outer shell and talk about hard things. They don't want to, or they don't know how. It's wild. They really just don't know how to get there.
One of the greatest consequences of screen time addiction is just the lack of social development, social skills development, being able to connect with other people.
We're seeing a lot more of that as we are becoming more aware of what social media does to our ability to have empathy and to interact with others and to see their social cues, understand their social cues, and react accordingly. We're seeing the difference that it's making, but the kids aren't.
The disconnect of even just he with his friends. I mean, it is how they connect, but how connected are they if they're all getting depressed? And
if they don't have anything to compare it with, like you said, we have a comparison because we grew up differently, because we didn't even have the option.
We're incredibly social creatures. That's actually what separates us, not our intelligence, but our ability to work together in communities, to thrive as humans. A huge chunk of your brain is devoted towards just understanding people's moment-to-moment facial expressions.
Right.
Because social signals that come very rapidly are incredibly important to us, even if in the moment we're not totally realizing how important those social signals are.
Would any of you guys say that you struggle or have struggled with anxiety or depression?
Anxiety.
In high school?
Both.
Yeah.
Depression.
Yeah,
me
too.
Don't.
Yes, definitely. I have an entire friend group who has latched on to each other due to their connection with depression.
Because they both are prone to anxiety and depression, I can't pinpoint whether.
So both of this lady's children are prone to anxiety and depression. Casey Morgan, thank you for that, for the Super 499. If I'm spending time with someone, I forget I have a phone because my phone is important to me, making that person happy. And then Jen, 1999, depressing state of affairs. Sounds like it was a genius idea, additionally isolating these kids at home last few years. Good night, everybody. Yeah. Thanks so much. Guys, just to keep the flow going, I'm just going to read super chats that are $20 and up. So just $20 and up from now, because it's really not about money. It's about getting the message out to you guys. But if you have to say something that's pressing, $20 and up. Thank you so much.
Whether or not it has anything to do with their device.
He's addicted to some games. I'm addicted to some games. Sometimes when we don't get it, we cry.
These kids are super well adjusted too, and you'll see their parents later.
We throw a fit.
I notice that my anxiety ramps up when I'm on my phone more, but not from like any specific thing, just kind of the more time I spend in my head, the worse off I get.
A statement that I've been making at my talks with high schoolers is, don't you all just sort of feel like every moment of every single day, we're all living in a state of low grade anxiety? And they all just kind of look at me like, yeah.
So we are seeing many more kids coming to school with diagnoses of anxiety and depression. And we also know that the teen suicide rate from 2010 to 2017 increased 56%.
My day-to-day life in the ER over the last 20 years, I think there's been two very palpable changes. One is childhood obesity, and the other is mental health issues in terms of the volume and the frequency.
I have
and that really jumped out at me. Childhood obesity, which is 1,000% the parents' fault. Like, just think about how much food you have to be feeding your kid to make them obese.
Yeah, and when they're home all the time on their phone, you know, they're just snacking on Cheetos. They're just getting fat.
Yep. And then to top it off, he's saying mental health issues. And then they said a 56% increase in teen suicide rates. 56%, you know, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. Wraith, welcome back. Thank you for that.
Does it sound any better?
Perfectly. Way perfect.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. Here we go. Let's continue.
Personally seen a difference in the number of children who are coming to the ER with mental health issues, with non-suicidal self-harming and suicide attempts and suicidal ideation.
His demeanor with me and his temperament, everything is different after he's had hours of gaming or something with a friend.
Sometimes I feel like I want to give it up, but it's such a big part of teenage life, I guess you could say, that I just couldn't.
A lot of like our lives are on our phones, like texting our friends, like that's on our phone. Like we have to be on it if we want to like talk to our friends.
And like our school actually gives us information through social media. So it's kind of just like, it goes hand in hand that you will be using social media and have a phone.
The lives of kids were sort of changing slowly for a while. And then all of a sudden, smartphones were easy to get. Social media was easy to get. Most people.
So again, 2011 was when smartphones became widely adopted. And then you could just see here with the generalized anxiety, although it is, you know, it is less than 1%, it is on the rise. And this is
maybe, have you thought about maybe the anxiety comes from the fact that they know everything about each other?
Yeah, that could be it too. Just like, yeah, just what the amount of data that people dump online is just retarded.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they know everything about each other. And then the other thing is they really, you know yourself, you can't relay emotion in text. You can't, there's no, if you take just for granted that 70 to 80% of our communication is nonverbal communication, and then you're doing text, maybe the anxiety comes from trying to figure out, well, what does he really mean? You know, because there's no subtleness in conversation. There's no being able to look someone in the eye, and you know, certain eye movements through the ages. We've learned that certain eye movements mean certain things to us, whether we know consciously what that is. Subconsciously, we know that, when a person is looking down and right, they're probably lying to you.
Yeah.
When they're looking up, they're thinking, and they're developing an image in their mind. And those are things that we take for granted because we get exposed to that from childhood to adulthood. But, these kids don't get that.
Yeah. And then, Casey says this is a trick to parents. It's not just America, it's global. It is, but there are other, for example, in Japan, they have something that's called like a children's cell phone. And all it is, it's like the shape of an egg. And you can receive text from only saved contacts in the phone. And the child cannot add contacts. It's only like family members, whatever. And they can only call and make little text messages. There's no games, there's no cell phone games, there's no social media apps, nothing. It's just like, it is literally a cell phone designed for children because they're aware of like all the fucking dangers, which I'm just going to be very honest with you guys. Like, this starts off like kind of like data driven, but this documentary gets pretty fucking dark. Like they ease you into it, but you'll see why in the upcoming hour.
Were able to afford that. Most kids were able to get on social media, and that's when everything kind of skyrocketed.
I'm addicted to my iPad.
I'm addicted.
But adults, not just teenagers, are also addicted to their phones.
Parents are the primary determinant as to how a kid uses technology. In other words, if we want our kids to be consuming technology differently, then we first need to look in the mirror and ask ourselves.
And Betty Chang here, she's in Taiwan, and she says, yeah, the children's cell phone, I think they have that in Taiwan as well.
Would we want them using their technology exactly how I do?
The race for attention has to get more and more aggressive. And so it's not enough just to get your behavior and predict what will take your behavior. We have to predict how to keep you hooked in a different way. And so it crawled deeper down the brainstem into our social validation. So that was the introduction of likes and followers.
I post a lot. I used to, I almost have a mental schedule, okay, each month I'll post. And I'll edit the picture and make it look really good. Now I just kind of post when I want to. And I definitely delete posts that don't get a lot of likes. I like to have a lot of likes on my posts. Just to it just makes you feel good.
You feel better when people are yeah, you're looking good. But then at other times you feel horrible.
Justin, your face says it all. Is your first time seeing this?
Yeah, it's my first time seeing this. And I just know how psychologically addictive this could be. Right. And because it's activating dopamine centers of the brain. So these kids will upload a great photo, but they don't have enough followers, enough engagement. And then they start feeling insecure with themselves, attaching it to their self-esteem because they didn't get enough likes on their photo. Right? Imagine how psychologically damaging this is. Of course, these kids are growing up with anxiety, depression, all these issues, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because people aren't liking your post, but you can see they looked at it.
No, I don't care. I mean, it sucks when my art doesn't get a whole lot of likes.
They call each other and say, hey, do me a favor, like my picture. I need more likes on my...
It's really easy for you to be oh, look at this other girl. She got this many more likes. Her body is this much nicer.
Are they chasing likes? Are they, as some young people say, I'll put a photo up, and if I don't get 50 likes right away, I'm taking it down.
And that it was much cheaper to, instead of getting your attention, to get you addicted to getting attention from other people. And this has created the kind of mass narcissism and mass cultural thing that's happening with young people, especially today.
I think people's online status does connect to their popularity at school. I'd say they're kind of symbiotic, they both feed off of each other.
Look at this, I have a 400 streak with this person. I'm better than you. Or look at this, I got 600 likes on Instagram. I'm better than you. They just want to be famous. They just want.
Parents who let their high school students have Snapchat are just fucking morons, period.
Want people to adore them.
They're hoping to get famous. They're hoping to get popular. They're hoping to get validated by strangers on the internet. Clout addiction. Know what clout is?
It's not as if all of a sudden a separate part of our brain evolved in the past 10 years to separate out social signals from social media, from those social signals that we get in real life. The social feedback is literally rewarding when it's positive, and it's literally punishing when it's negative.
Ms. Stanfield, I was a little confused by one thing you said. Did you say Google doesn't use persuasive technology?
That is correct, sir.
Liar.
What gets the most likes?
More spin, more likes.
Yeah.
Girls in bathing suits.
You have to sexualize yourself, or you have to post a bikini pic or something that's revealing in order to get a lot of likes.
The more attractive you are, more likes you get. Hot girls get a lot of likes.
Parents' day and age, you couldn't get on your phone and be like, oh my gosh, look at Kim Kardashian's life. We have the ability to compare ourselves with other people.
We weren't really worried about what we were wearing because everybody in the whole world wasn't watching us. The pressure to maintain the perfect image online is huge. On the flip side, if they post something and either don't get likes or get poor comments, then it's hit with depression.
But you know what you look like. You can see yourself. You don't need...
Yeah, but it's not how you look like this. It's like how you look like on that.
It's not checking to see if their hair's okay. It's seeing if they look like the girl that they saw on Instagram that was perfect.
Seeing people like that, it's like, why can't I, look like that?
And it's weird because we know that they're made up and they're not like 100% authentic pictures.
Girls like strongly edit their pictures and like you can tell like the wall is bent at their waist or like
but it just still makes you feel like
they're always ready for a phone. It's like they're constantly prepared to be captured by something and be shown to the world.
A man feels free if he believes he is free, and he will believe he is free if he is conditioned by positive reinforcement to think so.
You could be the meanest, most horrible person in the world. And if somebody sees you have like 6,000 followers on Instagram at school, or like you get a ton of likes, they'll be your friend. They don't care what you're like.
Are you gonna be on my side if I let you up? Sure, Chick, sure. I'm on your side. Just let me up. I'll do anything you say.
When I was a student, bullying was always in person. In my neighborhood, the bully who lived up the hill, and we would be careful not to go that direction because if he was outside, he would grab your bike and harass you.
Get off, I want to ride it. Oh no, Dick, not my new bike.
Oh, I was bullied all through school.
And I can remember the kid who you all just kind of knew was mean to people, whether it was on the playground or other places. I'm not going to say his name. I'm sure he's a great guy now.
The bullying happened at school or on the bus.
The ways in which this person could have access to my life were pretty limited. In this case, it was the 7 hours that I was at school.
Now it's always available. It's going to follow them everywhere.
Have any of you ever been harassed online?
Yes, 120%.
People are still just like mean.
Yeah, they're called trolls. They just like troll you and try and make you feel bad.
trolls are just kind of a part of the society we live in nowadays.
Our bullying did not go in front of the whole world on social media. To them, it feels like it went out to the whole world.
Personally, like I don't really get those,
Where are the safe places for a kid growing up? Because as soon as I get home, everyone goes to their room and the devices come out and everything that was horrible about what just happened is shared over and over and over again.
By 6th grade, he was like bullying me on Instagram and my friends were telling me, and I had no means to defend myself.
Well, honestly, I do think it's worse to be bullied online because you don't know who you're talking to.
Big picture, he was bullied in a lot of different ways. And part of the way that also showed up was through text message.
You know, it was in person in school, in the classroom, divide and conquer, as well as cyber. And so it was coming at him from all angles.
And it would never shut off. But the cyber stuff, so I would block kid A and block kid B, and they would give Ethan's number. Then they started texting Gavin. They had Gavin's ID and messages were coming in through. Gavin was 6 at the time. They were relentless.
He was the target.
It was relentless.
When I finally did get a phone in 7th grade, it got bad because I also got Snapchat around the same time. And so I could now see what he was posting about me.
Every kid sees this happening. It's hitting a much larger and broader audience than it ever used to.
you know, and sometimes people pile on.
It's another thing when the bully gets 25 people in a text thread and it's all directed at you. It's a different scale and it's a different time.
It's an amplifier for the worst parts of us. Let's take an example like Twitter. It's calculating what is the thing that I can show you that gets the most engagement. And it turns out that outrage, moral outrage, gets the most engagement. So it was found in a study that for every word of moral outrage that you add to a tweet, it increases your retweet rate by 17%.
If they didn't have tech, I swear they would have a black eye every day.
There are just so many more channels through which I can be a complete jerk that don't involve me being in front of you, which is the great neutralizer of cruelty. Because if I see you and I look you in the eye, we tend to treat each other differently.
He was having a really difficult time. He was very agitated. And it had to do with his phone. And I couldn't understand because we'd found some text messages on it that concerned me. And I asked him about it, and I took the phone from him, and we talked. We shared some tears, and I said, really, son, what's going on here?
A couple days after Christmas, the stomach pains got so bad we had to go to the emergency room. I was convinced he had appendicitis. He was in so much pain. He threw up 2 or 3 times. His blood work's good. This is weird. Like, we don't know. And I knew in that moment it was anxiety. I knew it. We got him through the other side, but there was a place there where it was so dark. I thought, this is it. This is that tipping moment where we lost our kid.
You know, certainly there's an element that kids need to learn resilience, and they need to understand that people are not always going to agree with them, and they may even tease them. And there's an element that that's okay, because we can't train kids to expect that they will always be shielded from any negative thing in their life. That said, it's important for a parent to know where in the spectrum it is for your child relative to where they are in their developmental cycle.
So it's definitely there. It's definitely there, but I'm certain it's probably more behind people's backs nowadays.
Cyberbullying is definitely, like Charlie said, a lot more subtle than people like to make it out to be.
So what happens when somebody takes somebody off Instagram?
Oh, it's a big thing.
It's a big deal.
It's like, you know, when you block somebody on Instagram, like you can tell, like we all know the signs of like when somebody blocks you on Instagram, and it's like a big thing because, you know, this person doesn't like you anymore.
That group photo where I don't tag that one girl. That parents may not pick up on that, but that is a subtle way of saying, I'm not going to tag you, or I'm not going to like that photo, or whatever it might be. We've attached worth to those things. And that's a little subtle jab that kids are doing all the time. I see it, I hear it.
What about the constant awareness that you're not invited to something or you're being left out?
I hate that. Nothing makes me more upset than that.
When people hang out or do something cooler than you, they're going to post it, and then it just shows like, hey, you're not here. You know, you suck.
I would actually be like, what did I do wrong? Like, I must have done something wrong. Like, I need to fix something about my character. Like, I just need to completely change myself. Who would be the person that would be invited and then make myself into that?
It's not outright, and it's not something you can just see when you go online. It's something that's behind the scenes, and it's something that affects someone over years and years and slowly changes the way they think.
How easy was pornography to come across?
Oh boy.
Yeah, oh boy. It was super easy.
Like, Mom, Dad, don't watch this.
I know.
I had a trunk and I had ways to hide it, and we had different methods of finding it.
We all congregated at this one guy's house because he had a VHS tape that had something on it that had been recorded from Cinemax.
Hey, let's go up to your uncle, go to the bathroom up there. We take a Playboy in there, put him in our thing, run down the alley and look at it.
She brought out a few magazines. Quick, you can look real quick. Oh, somebody's coming. Look at this. And it was a Playboy magazine. And I was like, good night. What are they doing?
And we thought, this is our moment.
You had to be MacGyver to like, you know, to get it, hold it, keep it.
But they had those sex hotlines that you could call.
Oh yeah, the 1-900.
They would like advertise it on the late night TV.
But this was, again, a plan, like a detailed plan that had to be enacted.
And there was
Gyan Lam Hyun. I put the name of the documentary right here, Social Media Dangers, and I put the link in the chat. Pay attention, bro. I already did it once. Jesus Christ. It's not on Netflix. It's on YouTube for free, as I mentioned.
There's no other way to get access to this sort of thing.
In the 50s, we had pinup girls, Bridget Bardot, Marilyn Monroe, and 60s we had
I'll say that Hugh, there is a couple good fathers in here that you'll see later.
at girly magazines, and then in the 80s we had VHS, and then there were chat rooms with webcams, and now we have cell phones in kids' hands.
All the physical barriers, be it physical location, right? Be it proximity, all those sorts of things, be it people, maybe that had access to it, right? None of those barriers exist anymore.
I mean, it's completely different now. I mean, it is like, it's all video and it's all, I mean, watching XXX videos are a lot different than looking at a Playboy magazine.
The Australian study that found that about half of children ages 8 to 16 had exposure to pornography, and many of those were actively seeking it out.
27%, if you look at the unfiltered internet, 27% of all video content on the unfiltered internet is pornographic or explicit in some way. If I imagine every day growing up, there was a coffee table in my living room, and there were 4 magazines on that coffee table. One of them was pornographic, and 3 of them weren't. And my parents just hoped every day that I didn't look at the wrong one. That is what the unfiltered internet is for kids today. We have put little boxes of porn in their pockets under the guise of safety, under the guise of overprotection, under the guise of I have to get in touch with my kid all the time, every day, 24/7. We have given them access to pornography that far exceeds anything that we ever were exposed to.
What about porn? Do guys all watch porn?
Okay, I didn't even realize that, but pretty much every guy has like.
This chick is extremely troubling. This girl, again, these are seniors in high school, and what she says is just it's just like, dude, and I gotta talk about it. It's I'm sorry, but when it comes to America, it is a nation of failed parents as well. Like these broken kids and fucked up humans, we're seeing they came from broken homes, and it's the broken raising the broken, and it just blows my mind. Just like, because the backbone of all what America wants to do is like, basically what these women want is like free reign to do whatever they want with no consequences. And their mothers carry that, and they impart that into their daughters. They lie to them like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want. Like, no matter what, you can do whatever you want. And that's just like, that's toxic positivity, and it's not beneficial.
An addiction to it, but no one talks about it. So say I'm like talking to them about it, and I'll be like, oh, like, does that guy do it too? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that sweet innocent boy watches it too. Like everyone does.
No, like everyone watches it.
How many guys and girls do you guys know that watch porn?
I'd say all guys, pretty much.
I think I know one guy in my school. I think I've talked to one that I can confidently say hasn't, and nobody else.
You know, it's very prevalent, and like everybody knows it.
They watch porn for fun. They don't even watch it for any sexual release. They just watch it to watch it.
Do you think parents really have any clue of how significant of an issue pornography is in kids?
No,
they're pretty clueless.
Yeah.
In 2019, porn sites received more traffic than Amazon, Twitter, and Netflix combined each month. 26% of adolescents aged 13 to 17 actively seek out pornography.
What's that? What
Weekly
percentage?
or more.
It is on every platform, even the platforms that parents think it's not on. Just for example, Twitter, which is one that most adults probably use. They probably know Twitter.
Snapchat is where explicit content on Pornhub lives just seconds away from every user through backdoors within the app. The app knowingly allows a well-documented list of porn performers to make thousands of dollars daily through their premium Snap accounts.
The people behind pornography know how to optimize their content for search terms.
Pornographers, any new technology that comes out, they immediately saturate it. They know about it before, as it's getting ready to come out, and they are ready with every strategy to saturate it.
What age did watching porn become common?
I'd say 7th grade.
Yeah, middle school.
9th and 10th grade, I remember guys being like, yeah, like I had an issue in 7th grade, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
What I say to parents is it's time for every parent on earth to leave the ignorance of the land of if and embrace the reality of when.
The film we'll see this morning will give the answers to these questions. It will also show the earliest phases of growth, as well as the changes that take place during childhood and adolescence.
So when my parents were addressing the birds and the bees with me, there was no conversation.
I walked out more confused after the conversation than when it started.
We don't talk about those things at all.
No, sex. Sex. Wait.
It's absolutely normal to be curious about sexuality. It's normal to be interested.
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die. Just don't do it, promise? Okay, everybody take some rubbers.
My dad had conversations with me when I was a teenage girl. Like, I asked him, and he was very blunt and just told me.
Do you think kids are using pornography as sex education?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like they don't want to like talk to like a parent or like a guidance counselor or anything like that because it's awkward. Like it's an awkward topic to talk about.
Like I said, I have 3 classes right now, and they all are going like over like sex ed type things, and it's really boring. So a lot of the times I just kind of like tune it out.
This is a tool for sex education for a lot of children. They are learning so many wrong things, not only about sex, but about relationships.
Guys, especially our age, like they just like watch porn to like be fulfilled in their own ways. So then they're just like if my girl can't do the same thing that these people are doing, like then something's off. I don't want to be compared to like a porn star. Like
Analysis of the 50 most popular porn videos found that 88% contain physical violence and 49% contain verbal aggression, mostly against women.
Wow. There's like certain guys that I've hooked up with, and I'm like, this is really aggressive. Like, this is too much for me.
Senior in high school, there are certain guys I've hooked up with.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And again, like, what are these fucking parents doing? Like, how are they allowing this to happen? Like, do you not supervise your children? Are they just given free reign? Wraith, am I out of, because you're actual father here on the panel, like, you know, am I overreacting? Is this just they're gonna do this no matter what? Or you're muted, brother. Let me see if I can do it for you.
I think it hasn't changed as much. I mean, because people were, you know, even in my time, people were in junior high were having sex or getting laid. It probably wasn't the volume. It wasn't everybody.
Right.
You know, because there was a lot of parental, you know, guidance and watching and that kind of stuff. But I mean, you take right now, you have most families have two job families, and you know there's no mother in the home to manage that or to watch it or to alert, you know, the father of changes in behavior. Most people only see their kids at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and then it's as they're going to the room now. So I don't think the sexes. I don't think that from about hitting puberty, 12, 13, I think everybody is looking for sex. But I don't think, you know, in my time, they probably weren't as successful.
Right.
And now, you know, just by, you know, the female standard, if they haven't had sex by 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, they're not considered with the in crowd.
Yeah, man. I definitely think it was happening in the past, but the frequency and the volume of it is just happening way more. And this is an exclusive America problem. This is not happening over here in Japan at all. I don't think it's happening in Korea, and I definitely don't think it's happening in China as like it's happening en masse in America. And again, as just say, like, it's just it's a
Yeah, but
giant failure.
look at the difference in family structures, though. I mean, I've been to Korea, I've been to Japan, and I spent a couple of years in Korea. Um, Teenagers are well managed.
Yeah.
They're driven, to, if they're not working for the family in one way or another, they're studying for school.
Yeah.
Because education in Korea and in Japan, education is the way you get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You're either growing the family's business or you're being educated to support the family business when you get out of school.
Yeah.
So
After
it's a
school,
different structure. Yeah.
yeah, after school in Japan, they go to cram school where they,
Right.
They prepare, and then after that, they're going directly home. You know what I mean? There is no like this free reign, this laissez-faire kind of parenting that the Americans do. It's just an abomination and a big mark of failure on the country, quite frankly.
Well, I know when I spent time in Korea, Korea's a country of entrepreneurs, for the most part.
Mhm.
And every family has some kind of business. And if your father owns a store, your mother's working at the store. You come
Right.
home, you come back after school, and you work at the store, or
Right.
you go upstairs and you study, or they send you to school, night school. So, like I said, it's just a different structure. American kids have way too much free time, and it's even worse now. Um, as we keep making the educational requirements more and more laxed, and college is turned into a business instead of a center of higher education. Students have time.
Yeah, Andy Lee says, "Shout out to the Asian restaurants with the children working the register." Yeah, that's how it was. Like a lot of my Asian friends, my Korean friend in high school, his name is Jin. After school, he would go work in his parents' restaurant, like an Asian restaurant, washing dishes or whatever. But these kids like just like given free reign to go out and fucking ruin themselves.
Well, there's probably more disposable income here than there is in Japan and Korea too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Ryan says, would you say raising kids in Japan is safer than the U.S.? Without a shadow of a doubt. Or would homeschooling be preferable? Homeschooling is also preferable due to overall due to the control of information your kids absorb. Yeah, I mean, there's a parent right now. There's a parent in Rhode Island who is asking to see the curriculum that is being provided and taught to her children, and she's being sued by the teachers union because they're pushing like the transgender shit, and they're like she's a mother, she's like, what are you teaching my kids? And then they're now forming a smear campaign against her, and they are saying she's like this predator and she's all the typical manipulation tactics. The shaming or the shaming language, what is it? The sign language, was it shame, insult, guilt, and what's the last one? But it's all happening. And yeah, man, like I said, and this isn't like I said, if you're sensitive, you probably want to stop watching from this point on now, because it's just going to get way darker.
And then I'm like, and it's just terrible. I'm like, this is so bad. Like, because I haven't had sex yet, like people, or like the guys will like ask, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that with you. And they're like, are you kidding me? Like, they get so mad.
Guys get this image in their head that that's how intimacy goes and that's how sex goes. And
there's definitely a bigger population of guys that feel that way now than there were even like 5 years ago.
Jesus fucking Christ.
The science is still emerging, but I just happen to live in the camp that when young people are exposed to large amounts of pornography, it shapes the way that they see other people. I happen to be somebody who at a very young age was exposed to pornography. I discovered a stack, of magazines when I was way too young. And that planted a lot of curiosities in me that I wasn't ready for, quite honestly. I didn't know what to do with that. And we could talk a long time about what that did to me later in life and what that did to distort just my views of sex and intimacy, even as a young adult and as a married man, even leading to an addiction of my own to pornography that was destructive in a lot of ways. And that was years ago, but I can link all of those things together. And I'm a guy that did not grow up in the digital age, yet I was exposed to something that I wasn't ready for. I didn't have anybody who was giving me any sort of baseline to compare that to. So a combination of that early exposure plus the internet became a very toxic thing for my life.
I feel like a lot of porn does, show the woman as more submissive, and it kind of puts that idea, in boys' minds.
It just leads to guys objectifying women a lot, and then they forget about the whole relationship part, and that's all they think of now is just sex, because that's all they've seen.
I know we've been talking about a lot of guys are into pornography, but a lot of girls are too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even think parents have the birds and the bees talk anymore, because kids will know about it by the time they're 8 if they have access to social media.
Yeah.
It's just honestly effed up.
But it's just faster now, and it's younger.
20% of youth report that they came across it, children, that it was unwanted.
But we can now be in different places, and we're in a group chat and somebody shares it. Everybody's got it if they open it.
And in the elementary schools that I'm in, I typically hear counselors saying, yeah, we've got kids that are already seeking that out and in the elementary school age.
Sex is not something that is easy to talk about with your kid at any age, but it's something that you absolutely have to talk about, and at a younger age than you might think, because even if he couldn't access pornography on his personal device or through our home, cable, somebody on the bus probably could.
This mother proceeded to tell me her son was 11 years old, but when he was 9 years old, he went to sleep over at a friend's house, a family that they knew quite well. And this son, his friend, showed him pornography, hardcore, really horrible stuff on the iPad at this sleepover, and then proceeded to practice that pornography on her son. That was when he was 9 years old. Okay, fast forward 2 years. He's now 11. He's never told anybody about this. But mom has noticed that my son just isn't happy anymore. And she sat down and had a conversation with him and found out through this conversation that for 2 years he had held on to this secret. And then he felt so much shame and guilt that there was something wrong with him, that he did something wrong. And so for 2 years, he held on to this corrosive secret that started on an iPad. The number one common denominator of those who abuse other kids is an early exposure to pornography. Because what they see, they feel neurologically compelled to do.
I just don't even know what to say.
I guess my first boyfriend was, I was college age when I had my first boyfriend.
Most honorable woman.
We would have hay rides or winter roasts, or it was more like just groups of people.
Wraith, you know her?
Now,
You gotta lighten the mood a little bit.
She's probably a couple years older than I am.
Oh no. You're the Chad here.
after you finished 4-H, they had what they call real youth, and that's how I met my husband. We would meet once a month and maybe have a dance, or a lot of it was square dancing, and everybody would bring food, and And there were a lot of marriages. My friend Mary Lou and I both met our husbands through Rural Youth. So that's how I met my Mr. Right.
Dating in 2020. How do dating relationships begin?
A guy says you're hot, pretty much. That's step one. So the guy will like add you on Snapchat, and then you might like say you like each other, but of course it's over text, it's not face to face. Then you guys might have a thing, hooking up with each other when you like each other.
So you hook up before you are dating?
Yes. People don't really like go on dates. It's kind of you just like hang out, or like guys just use you.
Again, that kind of like trauma-based language, like guys just use you, and she's fucking senior in high school.
It's true. Right. We couldn't communicate in person because we'd like built the relationship online.
I had like the same experience, only after about 3 months, he asked for nudes, and when I said no, I don't send them, he dumped me.
For many young people, sexting could be considered the new first base.
Kids call it nudes. We call it sexting.
Yeah. No, everybody knows what it is. Everyone knows sexting is a thing.
My school, sending nudes is very common.
It's mainly between people who aren't actually dating.
Do you know of anyone who's been affected by that at all in your school?
Affected by sexting?
Yeah, like I've had an incident or a bad thing happen to them.
Well, yeah, like nudes of girls go around the school all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
We are seeing more and more young people that expect to jump right into sexual acts without the relationship portion before that, without getting to know each other, without going on that first date, without holding hands, without having that first kiss. They're jumping straight to send me nude photos, send me a video of you masturbating. And that's happening younger and younger.
But then 8th grade, there was like 2 different groups, and it was like the group of people that like did like send nudes or like did all these things, and then the group of girls that like didn't do it. And there was like just a very distinct, and it was 8th grade, and that's when it.
And that's what divided the groups was.
Honestly, yeah, and like now, like my brother's in middle school, and like I sometimes hear him, and then like a bunch of kids I babysit in middle school, like it's happening younger and younger, and like what age is now? Like I mean, like 6th and 7th grade, like.
With sexting, while the studies typically focus on the ages of 12 and older, I've been in schools, elementary schools, where sexting has already occurred with 10 and 11-year-olds.
We have a lot of teachers and counselors come in, like trying to discourage us from doing that type of thing. But obviously people don't listen. Like if you have a teacher or just someone like telling you constantly not to do it, it makes you more just want to do it and like to try it out.
Is that amount of communication needed before a boy feels comfortable asking somebody by text for a nude?
You're pretty much lucky if you get about 2 weeks into talking to them before they ask.
Or even,
demand.
sometimes they won't even just like talk to you. Like they just
demand it.
Yeah.
Or send their own without us asking.
Yeah.
What about guys? Do they send nudes?
Yeah, they're disgusting. Who wants to see that? Like, when you wake up,
I wish they would.
No, one time I was with a friend, and we were having a sleepover. Woke up, good morning. It was 8 a.m. I was like, I don't need to see this.
They're more unsolicited. Like most of my friends have gotten them, and
I feel like for girls, for the most part, get disgusted by it.
What do you think percentage-wise of girls have received them?
High percentage.
probably more than half.
Yeah.
Do a lot of people you guys know send nudes? In middle school,
that was a huge thing.
Oh yeah, you guys had like huge problems.
Scandals.
Yeah.
Like, they're like these rings almost. They like got caught, and the police would get involved.
In middle school, that's like the peak of like, which is totally messed up.
It's just so casual. But then when a girl does it, it's totally different and looked down upon, kind of.
Some girls I know, like, they just like won't say no because they're like scared of like the repercussions because they don't want to be yelled at or called a prude or like.
And you're constantly judged. Like that's so true. Like they're either like, oh well, she's a slut and will do anything, or like, oh, she won't do anything with guys. And there's really like no in between.
It's a no-win situation. If you give it to a boy and then you're a slut, then the girls find out about it, then you're cyberbullied by the girls. If you don't give it, then some girls will even jump on the bandwagon. You know, I gave it to so-and-so. What's the problem? Why won't you do it? What do you do in that situation? Because you know you can't win.
I don't think people think it's a positive for doing that type of thing, but it definitely gives you a lot of clout. Like, you have a lot of attention on you, like good or bad. And so people definitely like want clout. They like do like almost anything just for people to like pay attention to them.
If the good girl sends Johnny something that she normally wouldn't, everyone's gonna be like, let's get more.
And then all the guys will go after her too.
Oh yeah, then she's got like 20
things.
new ads on Snapchat, 3 new DMs.
But behind closed doors, people are like, she is a whore. And people act cool around her, but like behind closed doors, people hate her.
Let's say your daughter was dating a football player. She breaks up with him. She hasn't had sex with him, but he says, you need to give me a little something, something, some pictures, and then I'll stay in the relationship. So she does it. She gets pressured and she does it. And they break up. Well, I talk to kids all the time. What happens when you break up with those pictures? Let me take a step further. What happens when you break up with your boyfriend and his new girlfriend goes in his phone and finds your pictures? It gets distributed.
Especially with Snapchat, which was, kind of more or less created for that exact purpose. It gives people a sense of like, oh, it's not that serious. The pictures go away. But we all can realize now and look back and say, well, no, that's definitely not true.
Yeah, once something is out on the internet, social media will latch onto it. People will download it.
So it's like a Dropbox, and it was like, I guess some guy like went to our school, made it, and it's like just girls' nudes, just like just random people.
All the guys saved.
And you could, exactly. And there was like a list of like all the people that had accessed it, and like it was even like people that you wouldn't think really like good guys that you wouldn't think would like engage in that kind of stuff. But some girls had no idea that their pictures were like out in the open for everyone.
All of these naked pictures and videos guys get from girls they went to high school with. They're in their college dorm. They go on A9IB and they trade them like Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
This girl that I grew up with, she had a sex tape actually, and it was leaked. I remember even I, who didn't even go there, had access to it, but it was sent around, and we were freshmen.
One of my most hated terms is not my kid.
Parents suffer from a disease called the NMK syndrome. It's described as not my kid.
My kid won't do that. My kid would never. My kid's friends aren't like that. My kid's school isn't like that. You're wrong. Everybody's community is like that. Every school is like that. Every kid has the potential to do any one of the things that we're talking about here. No, even my own kid.
I'm just going to make a quick announcement. Just due to the sensitive nature of this video, if you guys are making stupid comments in the chat, I'm just going to permanently ban you, and you can just fuck off, because this is not the place to act like a fucking moron.
About 60% of the youth who experience sextortion, when they're kind of blackmailed or forced to send images, threatened to send it, actually know their perpetrator. However, we also then about 40% met the person online and sent the image.
He chooses his innocent victim. This time, he will not fail. This time, he is sure.
So I grew up in the era of stranger danger. So it was really the media that taught me more about strangers.
Dangerous people, stranger danger.
If somebody tries to engage with you, run away.
There's always like a van.
A white van.
A dude in a van.
With no windows.
Don't ever get into a car.
He's going to promise you a puppy and some candy.
Yeah.
Don't fall for it.
Yeah. We were told not to hitchhike because we would be kidnapped.
So in 1997, we had a guy come from Brentwood, Tennessee, drive up here to Naperville, met a 13-year-old at the corner of her block, took her to a hotel, raped her, let her go back home. And she told her parents that she met him on this thing called America Online.
Call now for America Online, a new way to use your computer to communicate.
My Instagram's kind of like a mix. Like, I would say half the people I know and half the people I don't know or like friends of friends.
3/4 of it is probably.
How the fuck are her parents okay with that? I just don't fucking understand how fucking incompetent these people can be. Like, who is following my daughter on Instagram? Why does my daughter have an Instagram? Like, no, a child should not be in charge of their social network below the age of 18. Like, the parents should have a veto as to like, this is okay, this one's not okay. But when you give them that digital device, God knows what the fuck's gonna happen. And yeah, like as Billy says, you know, this is really disturbing. Like I said, it just bringing awareness, and I'm pointing out the things that I've noticed. And a lot of these bad parenting things, these are tied to inner game issues. These are tied to men not having frame. This is due to a lack of masculine role models in America. It is all connected. Okay. Yeah, Nina says it here perfectly. It's a parenting fail, big time. Yeah. John Collins says my 16-year-old son doesn't have Instagram. Yeah, it's because you're a good father. Congratulations, John. Congratulations. Yeah, it's just insane, bro. It's just I don't know, like a loss of words, quite frankly.
Probably my friends from like school or acquaintances I know, not just random people off the internet. But there is, of course, that 1/4 that is random people I've never talked to or don't know looking at pictures of me.
When it comes to Tumblr, a lot of people like follow me for my stuff, and that's cool. I like to have them follow me, but also there's sometimes people that I don't know that follow me.
I friend a lot of people. I would just join
He
games.
just friends random people.
I would just join games for no reason and just go friend.
Braxton does end up, I'll be in there and he's on the headphones playing Xbox, and I'm like, who are you playing with? And he'll be like, I don't know, some kid.
Have you ever gotten creepy DMs from guys?
Yeah, all the time.
Have you been solicited by any creeps online? Like, have you?
Yeah. He was contacted by a stranger on Instagram.
Oh, like I saw your page and like I'm really like I'm interested in like sending you money for like in exchange for pictures.
I had people like DM me saying that I'm so beautiful and like he'll buy me whatever I want.
So we at BARC unfortunately detect issues around online child predation very frequently. Last year alone, we escalated 450 online child predators to law enforcement. And so we know that it's a common problem. Unfortunately, we think most parents underestimate the commonality of that problem.
We decided to go undercover as multiple children on social media and post innocuous content to see what would happen. We had to be very intentional with everything we did. We had to create personas. They had to have believable date of births, and we had to know everything about the city that they lived in, and we had to create storylines, and we worked closely with law enforcement.
And basically just pushed go. We put everything live and we documented what happened.
Within the first hour of posting on Libby's accounts, 7 adult men contacted her. By the end of 9 days, that number was 92.
Again, male thirst. And it's just, like I said, this is where it gets dark. So go watch something else if you don't want to watch this. But yeah, the male thirst is just so disgusting that these guys will go to this length and, hide behind a screen and go on fucking like literally become like a child predator because they're fucking not man enough to go talk to the girl that they actually want to talk to. And you can see like the speed is going to be demonstrated here in a moment.
Conversations ranged in severity from making sexual comments to sharing and requesting explicit photos and videos to manipulation and threats.
We had to deploy an entire team, around the clock to responding because the rate at which these messages came in was mind-boggling. And of course, when you're dealing with social media and the internet, it's a global thing. It's not just an East Coast thing or a US-based thing. There were men that wanted to talk to children for nefarious purposes at all hours of the day and night.
We tried it with younger personas as well, even an 11-year-old.
We launched our 11-year-old persona online.
It's 4:44 and go. One like from a guy whose profile photo is a penis.
So
let's say
1 minute and 7 seconds. We have a message request.
Although sorry, 2 more requests just came in. How much time? 1 minute and 40 seconds?
Yeah.
How
old are you? You go to the profile, you know that is a child. It also says in the profile that the child is in 6th grade.
Another one.
It's just lighting up. Like the inbox is just boom, 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 boom.
An incoming video call in less than 5 minutes.
I can't see you. Don't be shy.
They all say don't be shy.
This happens to all types of children. This is not just kids who might be at risk. Oftentimes it's a child who's simply bored in their bedroom at night.
And I cannot tell you how many children I see in their bedrooms on live stream with tons of people just watching them, asking them to do certain things.
When parents allow their kids to have that device in their rooms at night, where are your parents? Then come the grooming question. Where are your parents? Are you on an iPhone or are you on an iPad? What school are you? What are you wearing? Oh, your makeup looks so beautiful.
It's not uncommon for grooming behavior to include showing minors images of pornography to help them to think that is normal. And then that can be a progression towards engaging them in sexual activity.
Do you want that? Do you want that as a parent, strangers in your child's room while you're sleeping? Would you leave the door open with a sign that says, my daughter's bedroom is the second one on the left, and then go to bed?
We have traded a false sense of safety and security for actually putting our kids in riskier situations.
There are some that are just there for a quick fix. They want to see something, a body part or a live video, and then you might not hear from them again. But there are others, they use psychological strategies to methodically groom children by forming a friendship, by showing care. And then it escalates into more of a controlling relationship.
What do predators do with the pictures and videos they get from kids? They keep it or they trade it.
Last year alone, we received over 18 million reports of international and domestic online child sexual abuse. Between 2017 and 2018, video files reported to NCMEC increased 541%. We're seeing reports with graphic and violent sexual images of young children, including infants, and reports of on-demand sexual abuse known as live streaming.
Unfortunately, some of those were people who wanted to actually meet the child in person, which could have been just because they wanted to have sex with a minor. And sometimes we believed that it was because they might be part of a sex trafficking ring wanting to actually traffic the child.
It was a tough decision, but if Keith wanted to meet Libby in person, we would let him.
Oh, hi. Good, how are you? Nice to meet you too. I've never done anything like this before, so I'm a little nervous.
It's the first for everything.
Yeah.
Don't be. I'm not gonna rush you. We can just go upstairs and talk.
Are you okay with me being 15?
I've never done it. So cool.
The project has also resulted in numerous arrests, and that's great. Unfortunately, it's a drop in the bucket.
The average internet predator has 250 victims in their lifetime. One person has that many victims in their lifetime if they're not caught. So what happens in the law enforcement arena, that cops are not getting this technology training.
The problem is so big. I mean, we would need to employ so many more officers trained in dealing with this issue.
When you're a law enforcement professional and you're looking at more cases than you can ever possibly get to, unfortunately, a lot of those get triaged so low that they never actually get investigated. And so, unfortunately, that allows predators to keep doing exactly what they're doing without as much consequence.
I think about how I would have felt as a young, impressionable child. I would have kept the abuses to myself for fear of being shamed and blamed. I would have suffered with it secretly and quietly.
It's important really to never start that process, because as a child, once you're in it, it's very hard to get out of it. Very hard to come forward and tell your parent, this is what's happening to me.
Do you think your parents know that this happens?
Oh, no.
No.
I wouldn't be allowed to have a phone. Oh, if they knew what was going on, it would be stripped.
And so if you, as a...
Go ahead, Justin. I got something to say.
No, it's just like, I find it so... Sorry, I find it so funny how the girl pretty much says, oh, I wouldn't be allowed to have a phone if my parents knew what was going on, right? And it's just, yeah, like, no shit, right? Dude, if I was pulling this shit when I was their age, and if my parents caught me, I get my ass beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just crazy. Okay. So Leela, that's not true. Most men are not predators. This is not the channel for you to spew your fucking idiotic shit. So you can go fuck off permanently. But like I said, the social media dangers, and to top it off, yesterday's episode, if you didn't watch, when we're done today, go watch yesterday's episode where I read the laundry list of things that happen to you when you're addicted to your smartphone. Just smartphone. And then throw in fucking social media on top of that. You know, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you know, and again, I'm not like, I wanted to bring this to like the attention of people so they could be aware of what is actually happening. And this is not to fucking demonize, man. This is not that fucking channel. Okay, this is to help people be aware of what is happening right now, how this fucks with your psychological and physical well-being, and also to be aware of what bad parenting looks like. That's what this is for.
Parent or caregiver can be an open, honest, soft place for your child to come and say, hey, look, everybody makes bad choices. I'm here for you. And we'll get through this together.
There's no bigger God's gift than a mother's intuition.
Yeah.
When a mom knows something, feels something, there's something wrong with their kids. And God's given this to moms to protect their babies, whether their babies are 6 months old or 40, that never goes away. So I always tell moms to follow that and it'll never lead them astray.
The best line of defense by far is to have active and engaged parents who understand what their child might be encountering online. Children, unfortunately, left to deal with this all on their own. And they're not, we're talking about 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids who are not.
Guys, if you see that Leela girl pop up again, she's just a trash bag. Just permanently block her. Fucking freak.
Equipped to deal with this in a vacuum. And so it really takes that guardian and parent support system.
We always knew where our next meal was coming from. I don't want to say, but there wasn't much money. And in that middle of that time, we'd had tragedy. We lost my older sister died. of pneumonia. And talk about the good old days, but we didn't have the medical care back then that we have now. And then in the following February, my mother had a little sister, Carolina, and she had a heart defect and couldn't be saved. So my parents lost 2 children in less than a year.
The kind of things you did. And
Sure. Yeah. Jack is, I have 2 boys, John and Jack. Jack's younger of the 2. John's 21. Jack was 15. Jack was a very outgoing, typical teenager at 14 and 15, rambunctious, outgoing, very compassionate, pretty much an empathetic kid.
He was a really sensitive person. And I think that was one of his best attributes because he could tell when you were feeling down, and without even asking you or having a conversation with you, he just could pick that up. Total empath.
He was so kind to other kids. And I wonder if that sense of kindness made him more susceptible to feeling.
Was there much talk of, did you remember there being suicides or anything like that?
Never. I never have heard that. We were worried. We were more worried about physical illnesses, but I don't remember there being a problem with suicide.
I've always liked technology, and I will say that it was hard to keep up with it, but I would stay up sometimes very late trying to figure out what my son was doing on his phone and figuring out how to use all the same apps that he used, so that I never got behind on that stuff. But that's a really difficult thing to do. I knew that it was working because Jack told me one day, "Mom, I give up. You're too smart. I cannot keep up with you, and I'm just going to tell you everything now." And he did, except one thing.
Definitely the worst day of my life was getting that phone call from my parents.
He didn't do it on purpose, and he didn't do it to hurt us. He was just in a lot of pain.
Jack struggled for 9 days in the hospital. And then after about 6 weeks, we were able to crack his phone.
Someone said that there was, some stuff on sale at Home Depot that would help you basically off yourself. And other kids would just come right out and say, text, just go kill yourself. And then this is not uncommon. He's not the first kid that's had that happen to him.
Why did I not know what anxiety was, and why do you know?
I guess they've been a little bit better about.
But even then, they only made it known to us after 4 kids killed themselves.
That's true.
In Littleton alone, at the beginning of the year, there were multiple suicides before school even started.
At Children's Hospital, there is a new program for 10-year-olds and over, and they say, have you ever thought about killing yourself? Have you ever tried to hurt yourself? How do you feel about that?
So I work in one of the busiest pediatric emergency departments in the country. At any given time, we can easily have 4 or 5, sometimes 6 patients who are there waiting for mental health evaluation or waiting to be transferred for inpatient treatment.
You hear from the CDC that suicide is the second leading cause of death in children ages 10 to 24.
Colorado, suicide is the #1 cause of death for individuals 10 to 24.
Every day we send out, over a dozen imminent suicide alerts every single day.
It was such a rare occurrence to see that. Now it is commonplace. Has something changed about us biologically?
From 2000 and 2007, the suicide rate seemed virtually was pretty stable and had, if anything, some years fluctuated down. But then we saw a beginning trend, and it became evident over time that it was increasing from 2010 to 2017.
Not only teen suicide, but child
suicide, like 10 or 9 years old.
I said, all right, sure, what do you got? He goes, well, Friday night, I had two 10-year-olds on Snapchat. One thought it'd be a funny idea to talk the other one into committing suicide. And she did it. She's dead.
So 43% of 1.12 million children that presented to the ERs for suicidal ideation or suicide attempt were under 11 years old.
Whether these young adults think that they're not worth anything, I guess, I don't know, but people can't deal with things now.
But I feel like a lot of people in our generation are like way more sensitive than they should be. Like if one insignificance happens, it'll just trigger like every past thing that's happened in their life.
There's always a competition. Like with school, you're competing for the best rank. With social media, there's this unspoken, I guess, kind of competition for like most followers in a sense. If you're losing that competition, it hurts. Like it shows, you feel it in your heart.
Constantly comparing myself to others, constantly, wanting that thing or needing to be checking or not falling behind on notifications or whatever kinds of stresses are attached to that. But then you couple that with the fact that I just don't know how to deal with anything coming my way. And I just think at times for some kids, it's just a toxic combination.
Suicide is always the result of many factors. As we are not teaching kids as many skills to self-regulate and deal with difficult emotions, well, one thing that a device can be is a great way to distract.
Not being able to have my phone for a week, definitely, like I would get really bored and I feel like I would be stressed out.
Typically when I get bored, I do pick up my phone.
Like I had people to talk to, but they got bored.
I don't know. It's just like something that I do when I'm bored.
Oftentimes it's a child who's simply bored.
Yeah.
Like Ray said, too much free time. Like if you're sitting around and you're bored, you got too much money and too much free time. It's just no bueno.
Yeah, I'm pretty much bored.
I get so bored.
Sometimes when I'm bored.
Because they were bored.
And they're bored.
Boredom.
He is so bored. My mindset's got worse and worse just because I felt so unproductive and I wasn't doing anything. And I felt like that's pretty common. Most kids are bored, cooped up, and feel unproductive.
At 12, here again, I was helping my dad. We're still milking cows. We were still raising hogs, carrying water. We still didn't have electricity. I had to have the tractor gassed up, everything hooked up and ready to go. I mowed their lawns, some housework for those folks. I didn't even know the word bored.
And if we continually interrupt that boredom with distraction with screens, I think that we are removing kids' abilities to deal with their own thoughts. And then that carries the risk then of being in a situation where parents are fixing everything. And you combine that with situations in high school where parents have fixed everything. I've not been taught how to deal with my own thoughts. Life is kind of hard. I have no idea what to do with this.
I think I'm still more afraid of the real world.
When the kids are outside, I don't give them freedom.
I really wasn't allowed to walk around the street.
We couldn't do that now. We couldn't just walk down the street
without worrying about being kidnapped.
There's not a lot of freedom when they go out in the front yard, or they can't ride their bikes by themselves to the park.
I couldn't ride my bike around my street. We were gonna throw out raped.
Yeah. That's just not really that safe.
But I get it from the parents' point because it's a safety thing too.
Out there in the real world where things really are scary.
Interesting that you guys think that, because what I'll tell you is that realistically, the physical world, meaning kidnappings and that kind of stuff, it's actually much safer now.
It's easy to become fearful of your child stepping foot outside. It seems like there's so much imminent risk with all these things. So it's more of an issue with one and the parent. And then for the kids, it's hard to engage in a world where it seems like every day or every week or something, there is something horrible happening.
What makes you think that?
Yeah, I think it's because it's so populated in the news and stuff. You hear all these like watching the news and like really just seeing all the dangers that are out there in the world.
Explosive spread across
Most of the bodies are still inside the school.
Well, Roz, they wore black trench coats.
Authorities
Police said a 6-year-old died after a blow to the head.
Some wore Nazi crosses. And we are beginning to learn more about these teenagers.
NBC
history. April 19th.
We basically thought he was attention released. The Virginia Tech shooting still.
We live in a town, a community of 300 million people with a flow of information that happens all the time. You actually kind of wonder, are my kids okay to play outside in the yard for an hour without me sitting there watching them?
And I'm thinking, man, when I was in 7th grade, I was going around my entire town on my bike.
We were told to get out of the house.
Hey man, you want to play?
Ride my BMX bike.
Lived on my bike.
Play kick the can.
Built a zip line.
Help my friend was paper route.
When rang the doorbell.
You had the whole neighborhood.
And the street lights came
We
on.
just went off into the woods.
And had to be home when the lights came on.
The whole town was in an extended family of yours.
This is why am I nervous? This is so dumb. I've been conditioned by everybody around me that this is scary. This is not scary.
That anxiety is something we as parents have to really kind of do some self-examination with and understand, like wondering what part are we involved in terms of potentially transferring some of that anxiety towards our kids. They have to be allowed to fail. There's no way you can ever prevent pain, or anguish 100% of the time. And in fact, it might not be healthy.
Do you guys feel like teachers and adults and parents in general have kind of abandoned helping you through the social media thing in life?
It's also like we shield stuff from our parents too. So like they don't
really
know.
sneaky.
Like I don't blame
That
them
is
for
so
not
true.
being able to help because we don't ask for help.
I definitely feel like us as kids kind of got put in a tough spot, in between two worlds.
This is all new for us as parents. This technology and this world has crept up on us, and there is so many of us who could do better.
Like my parents would be like heartbroken that like their kids have to go through this.
Over half of tweens and close to 3/4 of teens experience issues regarding mental health. And then we get into cyberbullying, and that's over 3/4. Then we get to sexual content. And for tweens, it's around 70%. And then for teens, it gets even higher.
Our society is just become too isolated, just losing human touch.
Yeah.
And there's no human touch to kind of heal the scar or the pain.
Why do you think all these like suicide and like depression rates are skyrocketing? It's because of social media and nobody's doing anything about it.
We gave the stuff to ourselves because we wanted it. And now we get to watch it happen to our children.
Kids right now are going to experience the worst of what we're going through.
For most of the things that parents can't stand about technology, it's our fault.
I don't want to trade my influence for their access to a million different sources of influence that may not be credible.
Some parents say, I'm not going to do anything. I give up. It's too overwhelming. I just, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that they do okay.
As a family, it is the one thing we fight about more than anything.
If I had the option to turn things back and give our kids of today a life without social media and smartphones, I would absolutely do it.
I would absolutely take away the internet from my kids.
Yes, I would have rather grown up without the internet.
I mean, I would do it immediately. Take it all away.
If social media was gone like completely and nobody had it, it'd be a positive.
I do long some for my children to know a bit more peace, a bit more calm, a bit more boredom.
You can't go back. You can't go back. I know we can't go back, but I wish we could make children realize that life is precious and it's a gift, and we need to really value it.
Do I wish that we could just throw all the technology away?
I kind of do, honestly. But I know that that is not the solution.
I think we're going through a painful process of adaptation to something that's fundamentally changed our culture.
But the opportunities for these kids in this world are so much more vast. And yes, it's more complicated and it comes with its own set of worries and concerns. But if you take the control out of it and you focus on just trying to teach them how to be people in this world with all the things coming at them.
Technology is amazing.
I think it's a great thing is for human culture and stuff like that if we can control our consumption of it.
So new technology almost always comes with unintended consequences. We didn't have car crashes before we had the car, right? The car's a great invention, but unfortunately that resulted in car crashes. And so the answer was not stop driving cars. The answer was we invest in driver's education and we add seatbelts and airbags and lane assist. And we're constantly looking for technological solutions and educational solutions to make that technology safer.
How do we keep our kids safe?
There's so much to that. I think what we need is a mass public awareness campaign so people understand what's going on. One thing I have learned is that if you tell people this is bad for you, they won't listen. If you tell people this is how you're being manipulated, no one wants to feel manipulated.
As parents, though, we decided we're going to become the experts. They need to start to see us as the experts rather than just everybody out there.
What's awesome is all these parents are, becoming innovators. And they're like, wow, there isn't this safety thing that we need. And so I'm going to invent it.
And you're not going to learn this shit at Drag Queen Story Hour either. FYI. I know it's like wow, oh my God, really? The fucking sexual offender dressed like a woman is not going to help me out with this. But the other parents are. Yeah.
There's so much more help now than there was 5 years ago.
And there are ways that it can benefit them hugely, but it's not going to benefit them. And they're not going to use it only for positive stuff unless we educate.
The best filter that your child will develop is the one between their ears. So having an adult they can go to that they trust is critical. And having an adult that's interested in and able to have the conversations with them is critical.
And they'll say, I want to talk to my parents, but they just don't get it. And maybe they don't, but they should try to get it. Because once you crack the shell, oftentimes these kids are just dying to share.
The best thing that you can do for your child is make sure that they feel comfortable talking to you about these types of issues. And unfortunately, most parents are relatively ignorant about the types of things their children are experiencing online and aren't prepared to help them even if the issues do come up.
So you're my child. I love you. So if something goes sideways that we missed, I want you to know you have the open door, and we're not going to give you any consequences for coming to us because you're going to make mistakes.
I want a kid to kind of once in a while go, oh, Mom, I already know that. Good. Just, honey, wanted to make sure. You know why? Because I love you so much. And I want you to know this thing, right? If a kid isn't to the point where they're just a little bit annoyed by you going there again, then you're not doing it enough.
At some point, they will be taking flight and they will be leaving our home in just a few short years. And I want to know that we gave them everything that we had.
I mean, that's the truth. Even my husband, who is he's not a very emotional guy. He will call me up in the middle of the day and be like, gosh, she's just amazing. She's an amazing soul.
I just so desperately want those young people to have other voices in their life, adults who will look at them and say, that's not who you are. That's not who I see. This will come and go. I see you.
Is anybody surprised here that these are her kids?
Dude,
these are boys.
Honestly, that blows me away. That's like generational trauma right there.
Yeah. Literally, this is like when I saw this, when she talked about she was abused and then her dad was telling her about sex and all that shit at a young age. And like,
where's her husband?
Well, she referred to her spouse as her partner. So Yeah. So yeah, and it's just like I said, when you have broken inner game, when you have trauma, you pass that on to your children if you don't heal it, whether you want to or not. This is why you see fat people with fat children. You know, this is why you see a dad who's an alcoholic. Sometimes his children become alcoholic. Dad's a pothead, children are potheads. You know, yeah, it's just, you know, and I'm not trying to like make fun of them, but I'm just saying like be aware of the right way to do things and the wrong way. Like dyed hair on the mother, obese, dyed hair on the son, wearing some kind of dress, and then the other one thinks he's a cat or something.
Like, dude, that is so problematic. This is a fucking huge issue.
Yeah, like I said, and that's what I'm saying. It's the inner game thing is real, and then the passing on it's real.
I don't think it's just that too. Like, I mean, in this specific circumstance, it seems like they don't have like a masculine authority to look up to.
There is no masculinity in this picture. I'm pretty sure she is raising them with another lesbian woman.
Yeah.
There's no like this is, you know, and then if you go back to like, in my opinion, some of the most well-adjusted kids were this boy was really educated and well-adjusted. And you could see that the mother is in the father's frame. This is the mother that was like worried about that. She was like, what were those pornography statistics again?
Who is the most, he's not a very emotional guy.
I'll show you another
He
one.
will call me up in the middle of the day and be like, gosh, she's just amazing. She's an amazing soul.
I just so desperately want.
Just the kid is just like not wanting affection from mom.
Those young people to have other voices in their life, adults who will look at them and say, that's not who you are. That's not.
These two kids too are the younger kids, clearly well-adjusted, well-spoken, clean, they look normal, and then the father and the mother like very involved, very traditional. Father clearly is in his masculine, mother's clearly in her feminine.
Those kids actually communicate better than a lot of my clients before they show up to coaching. Not even kidding.
Yeah.
If you look at the way they communicate, there's like no trauma energy. They're just like perfectly like pure and like wholesome.
Yep.
It's great.
Yep. These are called naturals because they're just not fucking slammed with trauma from a young age.
Not who I see. This will come and go. I see you. You're going to be okay.
Look at that. Like, come on. Like it's just like each little things. Like, and again, we could see it because we're not socially retarded, but like, look at the kid.
I see. This will come and
look on the far left. Like, you know,
go. I see you. You're
like, who does that when their mom hugs them? You know,
going to be okay. I love you. And they just need to hear that. We all need to hear that.
Well, one of the biggest issues you have is something like that, John, is even if those kids don't have trauma of their own, they take on the mother's trauma.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. The generational, you know, the church talks about the generational curses, the demon jumping from demon to demon. No, it's bad habits from a fucking ingrate who got pregnant and had the kid. And like, again, my mom was doing that to me unintentionally, but she grew up poor and she was just like, we're poor, we're poor, we're poor, we're poor. And I was even into my 30s struggling with the poverty mindset, not until I worked on my inner game, my poverty mindset beliefs, the feeling that like money was just this inconceivable, unattainable thing. And I really believed that, like literally all the way until I was 33 years old. And then finally, after going to Ryan Fowler from Inner Masculine, who's going to be helping us at the Inner Game Healing, he was able to help me identify that I had these broken beliefs. Because Ryan Fowler, you know, he is one of his specialities is asset management, and he works for clients that have like millions of dollars, like 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million. And he was just telling me all these things about money. And I was just like, dude, I didn't even realize I have this such broken perspective. And it came from my mom. And again, it's not shitting on my mom, just that they do unintentionally pass the trauma down to the children. So that is that's the end of the documentary there. we'll just go around here, get some thoughts real quick. Justin, would you like to go first? Just give your overall perspective.
Yeah. No, so one thing that I thought was really interesting, and this is a huge issue, is pornography, man. It's bad. Like, I don't know how well your audience knows about my background, but I'm a huge advocate for like the no fat movement. Like, I've been off porn. Like, I don't think I was ever really into porn, but then even with no fap, like 7-8 years into no fap, right? And if you think about how important that is for developing a strong inner game and strong inner self, that is massive. So you see all these young kids who have a phone in their pocket and they can watch porn whenever they want. And if you actually study how bad pornography is for your brain and what that does to your brain, it's like as bad as, imagine a teenage boy doing cocaine all the time. Porn pretty much does the same thing to your brain. Okay. And so it's just so fucking bad for you. And so I think I realized that at a very, very young age. I didn't allow myself to get that into porn. But then, like, with my background, like jerking off was a huge fucking problem. And I was able to just like conquer that, crush it, and never look back and never have to worry about it. Right. And so for a lot of guys, especially with guys who are struggling with inner game, porn, masturbation, all that is a huge, huge, huge fucking issue. Right. And so I would highly recommend, men out there who want to work on their inner game, especially when it comes to, porn, masturbation, that kind of thing, is look into the whole no fat movement, because there's a lot of good resources out there. But the truth is, if you just work on your inner game, you just work on what's going on inside, you won't have those issues. And so, yeah, social media addiction alongside, having a masturbation addiction or porn addiction, like together, it is a really scary fucking situation. Because I mean, you could have all this potential and you just throw it away. I see that with so many guys. It's horrible, right? And a lot of guys who are struggling with dating, struggling with inner game, it's like, if you could just stop yourself from watching porn, stop yourself from jerking off, and actually work on what's inside, and like spend all that extra time meditating, reading, hitting the gym. Like, imagine over a long period of time, like the two different timelines, the two different paths you go down, how different your life would be. And then pile that in with, abstaining from drinking, abstaining from smoking weed, compound all those like awesome habits over years and years and years versus all the bad habits. Like, you're going to live two completely different lives.
Yeah. I mean, clearly and this is the main reason for me doing this is to show you guys, like, by default, you are going to be suffering some form of like inner game trauma or something in this life. And if you don't actively like take a active stance to identify it, get rid of it, and then maintain a lifestyle that facilitates healthy mental habits, it's only like these social media companies, Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, dating apps, all these things, they do not care about you at all. Netflix's number one competition is sleep. They're trying to figure out, make Netflix more addictive so you will neglect sleep and watch Netflix. Okay. These social media companies, dude, straight up are fucking evil. They do not care. You think they care? They do not care. They want more attention, more clicks, more views, more money, more revenue, and they don't care who the fuck gets hurt in the process. They do not care. So that's why it's imperative for you to care. And you're not impervious. If I could fall victim to this stuff, if Justin, if Wraith, if we could fall victims to this, we're leaders of this movement, you can as well. How you want to facilitate your plan of action to take care of this stuff is up to you. But that's why we're putting together inner game healing. That's what I'm doing all year as well. And it's not going away. It's only going to get bigger and better. And that's why I'm doing this, uncomfortable documentary. This shit made me uncomfortable watching this. Having to watch it the second time around also made me fucking uncomfortable.
I was genuinely uncomfortable.
No, I was like I said, and then I was watching it home alone and fucking uncomfortable. And then here, but I just thank God for Allie to tell me about this, because she watched it because she's pregnant. She's going to be a mother here in a few months. And she's going to be an active, involved mother. And I know her daughter is going to be a well-adjusted individual just like her. Wraith, would you like to add anything, brother?
I just think, most social media these days, and if you look at, you're constantly being inundated with, the horrors of the world. And they do that for a reason. It's to remove hope.
Yeah.
Um, as a human, and then, we have to have hope for the future, hope for change. Um, and if you enter into every situation you enter into is, hopeless, without an understanding of, hey, I can make things better, I can do this, you know, you're you're bound to be, a victim of your own life. Um, you know, as she said, as the one thing she said, it's actually safer in communities now than it was when I grew up. But it's not safer because kids, aren't being abducted and stuff like that. It's, we've learned the whole idea behind cell phones at the time when you guys were teenagers was to connect parents to their children. And it's done the opposite.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, and it's the apps and stuff that have done the opposite. It's the apps that take kids into these areas where they're being bullied and stuff like that, and the parents aren't teaching them resiliency and how to and I'm gonna sound religious here, how to embrace suffering and
Yeah.
grow from it.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, life is hard, and you can't take risk out of it. And you're not removing risk by putting it on a 6-inch screen and moving into a bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's sad. Um, I've dated younger women that they were stunted in their emotional growth, and I'm sure I talk to young men that are stunted in their emotional growth every day. You know, um, the problem I have with porn isn't uh, the addiction side; it's what the addiction causes.
Right.
Most people, when they talk about their maturity development, when it comes to relationships and stuff like that, most people stop at their first sexual contact, and you know that's when they develop those fetishes and those kind of things, or their understanding of sex and intimacy. And if a young man or a young woman, you know, has sex at a young age, and they don't have people that can guide them later on in life, that's the level of maturity they have when it comes to dealing with sexual situations and relationships.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So it's sad, but that's the world we live in right now. And you know, as you guys know, I mean, we all work with young men. The idea of what we're trying to give young men is, first off, you have to have hope. You have to believe that you can change things in your life, and you have to have the ability to, or the desire to do that. And and part of that, when you talk about porn and stuff, part of the nofap, I don't necessarily have a problem with masturbation because I have a problem with addiction to masturbation. There's a difference.
Right.
As a human, masturbation can be healthy if you're mature enough to understand it's you exploring what you want in intimacy, in sexual intimacy. Okay. But looking at a screen and saying, this is what I want because this is what everybody's seeing, is unrealistic to begin with. And it gives you a false sense of understanding of what real intimacy is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my problem with pornography. And that's my problem with masturbation, because pornography can cause masturbation addiction,
Yeah.
because it sets up an unrealistic expectation for men. And if they're watching porn and they can't get a young lady to perform that way, then they're saying, well, it's it's not worth it. I'll just continue doing what I'm doing. And that addiction gets fed daily, hourly, minute by minute, on your phone. But like I said, It's when you start looking at the problems that the young men bring to us, you can mostly see that it's because no one has been around to teach them what it means to be masculine. And their whole version of that is what they see on the internet and what they see on TV, where masculinity is bad. So I think the disconnect comes from them thinking that they need to be this thing that they can't be, and secretly harboring what they want to be, but there's no one there to teach them what they want to be.
Yeah. Like I said, so doing all this coaching since 2019 really opened my eyes to, you know, realize that like the root issue that most men are having in their dating life and being able to have a healthy relationship and a healthy life in general, like literally, I would say 80% of the time is something going on internally. And that's why I prioritized this. And then not only that, but last year when I put out Inner Game Healing, I thought it would just be a small group of like 20, 30, 40 people. It 200 people in there, and it was like a quick thing I put together. It wasn't even properly promoted for 30 days. It was like 16 days, 18 days or something like that. And then not only that, but like so many people were trying to get in over the course of 2022. So it's back. We're here to help you guys out to just manage these things. And again, go to innergamehealing.com. Just get on the waiting list right here. Put your best email address in here. Click here to get on the waiting list. You'll be good and go. Mods will put that link in the chat. Link is in the description box below. And that's going to do it for us here today. Thank you guys for watching us. Don't let this get you down. Keep, it's about being educated, taking your emotions out of this, and being aware of what's going on in the world, so that when you eventually do become father or mother, if you're woman watching, you need to be vigilant. You need to be a vigilant parent. You need to be hyper involved, because if not, there are other people out there who have your children's interests at the front of their agenda, and it's not good. Other than that,
I would say, let me say one thing: give yourself as an adult and as a man, and even the ladies in the chat, give yourself the opportunity to have hope.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you have hope, you'll pass that on to your kids, and when they hit hard times, they'll start developing that resiliency, because they know that this is only momentary.
Yeah. Until then, we'll see you guys next time. Have a great night. Peace out.